What's up, everybody? Welcome to I've Been There, Brother, the show about the struggles that we all face. We don't talk about and how they can actually bring us together. That's William. My name's Keith. We're excited that you're here. What's up, dude?
How we doing, Keith?
I'm struggling.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to talk. So, straight into it. Man.
Yeah, you texted me this morning.
Here's the fun thing. William and I don't talk at all before about the topics that we pick. And this one came on me. You're a man of faith.
Yes, sir.
And you express that. I love business and leadership. We both have given up drinking. And we agreed the show would not be solely about those things. And I love that. And as we've worked together, communicated more and more, your faith comes up. And I love it because I think that people should be able to express whatever they want. And in that regard, it's been really good, is it's made me think about my faith and lack of at times in this lifelong search that I have been on that I don't talk about. And I thought about this show and I thought, we want to talk about common things. And I don't know why, but I put myself into this trap or this mindset that what we were talking about is things that we had been through, maybe not the things that we're going through. And as I thought about that today, and I was having a conversation with an ex-coworker, faith came up, and we were talking about the podcast. And as we talked about faith, I talked about how strong yours was, and I struggle with mine, and how I was embarrassed to talk about that because I was afraid to alienate potential audience members because they don't want to talk about faith. And I don't think this show should be about any single thing besides real shit that we've been through, that we're going through. And then I became extremely disappointed in myself that I was embarrassed to talk about that. And then I made the decision today, approximately 3 seconds before texting you saying, we are doing a fucking podcast tonight, that this show is about what people are going through and don't talk about. And we have you who has faith, strong faith, and me that is a fucking roller coaster with it. And I want to talk about that because I don't know what to do. Now, the background that I want to really give you is I'm going to try to keep this to 3 minutes. So we've talked about my mom and dad. My mom was 18. My dad was 21 whenever I was born. They were divorced by the time I was 1. My mom had problems. She had drug problems. I never met her. And he was 21 and in the Air Force and getting stationed in Okinawa. So his parents got joint custody. They raised me. He remarried. He had kids. My biological mother, I always called her my real mom. She got her shit together, had another kid, got remarried. And whenever I was 8 years old, I was supposed to go spend the summer with her. And if I liked it, I was going to live with her. And then a couple months before I got to go down there, she died in a car accident. So I never got to meet her. My grandparents, I just called them mom and dad because that's all I knew. I lived with them from the time I was 1. And my grandfather, who I called dad, he passed away whenever I was 14 from cancer. And then my biological father, my real dad, he passed away from cancer when I was 17. And I did not grow up in a religious household. Where religion came into my life, I remember whenever my dad was dying and we started going to church, and I remember it was like yesterday. I was sitting on his right-hand side, and in the middle of the service, I looked over at him. He was wearing a gray suit jacket, and he started crying. And I remember in that moment thinking that this is not how I want to find religion. I don't want to be facing death, and that's how I find it. And so that almost same experience happened with my real dad. Same thing. He never talked about religion until he was going to die. And it felt weird to me. And so that like set me off on this roller coaster ride that I have been on in life that I can't fucking figure out. And I get embarrassed and I get nervous and I get, it's like Talladega Nights. I don't know what to do with my hands. And seeing you so confident in your faith brings out a lot of emotions in me. And I know I am not the only person who has those thoughts.
Yeah.
That was more than 3 minutes. Sorry.
Well, and not only that, but I don't think that was probably enough time. A lot to unpack. And first of all, what I would like to reference in myself, that you see this air of confidence or expressiveness. It wasn't like that for a long time. This is something really lately since committing myself to God. August 3rd would have been this year that I really got back into my relationship with Jesus. I want to touch on a reference point. You had mentioned you can remember it like yesterday, sitting in the church pew with your dad and him crying. I will challenge that, and I will say, who knows what your dad was experiencing at that point? Who knows what he was feeling in him, what he was thinking, not so much as his deathbed, but for all we know, he was feeling the Holy Spirit in him. So when you're feeling something, when you're thinking something that is unexplained, I cry, frankly, probably every weekend at church, and that's just a place. That's a place that I go to be in community with others. I can't explain this feeling, this overwhelming feeling that probably is the same exact feeling, which in my opinion is the Holy Spirit that is yelling at you today.
Man, I've been able to shake it though. Like, look, I've felt this way before and shake it off a day or two later.
How many
shake it
times
off,
has he
I think,
gotta send
and by,
you the
and by
mail?
shake it off, I think what I mean is I stop, I don't know, I move on.
Yeah.
I stop thinking about it. Dude, I can't fucking stop thinking about it for the last week. It is nonstop. And I haven't felt quote unquote called to too many things in my life.
Yeah.
Not this way. There's things that I'm passionate about that I just absolutely love. But this, I don't know. I have to talk about this. I don't know why.
Yeah, there's so much to be said for that. What was, you said about a week. So obviously there's a reference point. What triggered it? What is the one thing you can
you
Oh man.
because I just struggle with why I feel the way that I feel. And I was afraid to talk. I am afraid to talk about it.
Yeah.
I'm afraid to talk about it all the time with everybody.
It can be a polarizing topic for so many.
It's a super fucking polarizing topic.
Yeah.
And there's people, okay, so I told a couple people, I was like, I'm going to talk about this tonight. Nah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because it's a polarizing topic. And it's judgment. What are people going to think of me for having these feelings or potentially believing, or are they going to make fun of me? Am I a nerd? I definitely think of churchgoers as, I live in a certain state. There's a there's a persona with that, and I'm like, I'm not that, and I'm not trying to blow smoke up your ass here, William. But I met you, and I don't know, I
live
call you cool. You're not
unapologetically
that
myself.
cool, right? But but you're not, you're not what I would think.
I am confident, and that's what you're getting at about myself. And I can get it wrong. But one thing I do know is I trust the truth, and that to me is the truth. And it's hard to discount that in my eyes, from my experience. There are things that are unexplained, and it happens all the time. And I am unapologetic about having what feels like facts to so many people of like, oh, that's coincidence. No, nothing happens by chance. There is a reason for everything in my experience. It isn't now for your last week seeing what I'm doing. It's your 6-year-old self, your 8-year-old self, your 17-year-old self that are holding things in that it's like, man, I've been living with this for 30 plus years. Um, After my dad died, I pretty much blamed God for everything and was so ticked off at him and left the church,
Yeah.
stopped practicing, stopped talking, all of it.
I like to think
Mm.
that if I was put on the spot and asked if I believed in God, I would say yes. And I have been a little bit sometimes, and I will say yes. There is always this 15% doubt in my mind when I say that.
And what is the
And
doubt?
if God exists, is it is it like I want it so bad to be 100%, or at least I think I do.
Yeah.
Um, but there's just always this doubt that I can't shake, and I try to muscle through it. And I think that whenever it compounds or builds or reaches a boiling point, maybe that's when I move on and I put it out of my mind for 3 months, and I just
Yeah.
don't think about it.
What brings you back besides people like myself?
I think until I stopped drinking, I thought about dying multiple
Mm.
times a day. And I think in a way I don't think I was committing suicide on purpose, but I think there was probably something there. Um, and since I've quit drinking, I don't think about dying every single day. Um, and you think about dying, you think about what's after all this. Maybe I'm also just getting older, and I'm thinking about life and more to it, and meaning. And I don't, I wish I could tell you what brings it up. It just kind of comes up.
Yeah. I also, when I was drinking, didn't care if I lived. I really didn't think about that until like this last year during a lot of my recovery, I would say, and, the last, since September 26th, when I decided to stop drinking. I very much, up until January of 2025, probably did not care. And that's really hard to say out loud. And it's not that I was trying to kill myself, it's just that I wasn't trying to live.
Yeah, dude, I was listening. I was driving yesterday, and I was listening to. I love music, man,
Hmm.
and I was listening to a song that I used to listen to on repeat. I'd fly all the time. I was on like over 100 flights a year for work, and I would just get shit faced in the airport, and I'd listen to this song whenever I reached a certain level of drunk. And the song is about this guy who makes all of these mistakes in life and then runs into his kid later in life, and he's apologizing to his kid for all the mistakes that he's made.
Hmm.
And I would envision me running into my kids in the future and having that sad fucking conversation with them and not loving it, but being okay with it in the moment. Just so fucked up. And
Yeah.
I was listening to that song, and I think when I would be in that state of mind, or now when I reflect on that, yeah, dude, I think about God and just what comes after all this. And I get disappointed in myself that I'm not able to have conversations with my kids about God. I feel like I can't, like I'm not qualified enough to do that, or I don't know what to say. So I feel like I'm not living up to what I should be.
Hmm. That's That's tough. So I'm going to flip that then. Aside from what you're not doing, when is there a moment that happens for you where you're looking at it saying, man, that feels like God, or that feels like something is there helping me or guiding me,
Oh,
and it's unexplained?
the last 6 months. I
I mean, I don't
started
know
a
if you remember,
business.
you reached out to me at one point to talk a little bit more about faith. This was a couple
Yep.
months ago.
Yeah. There's little signs. I will have a bad. So I started a business, and I am I'm taking all of that booze energy and I'm pouring it into positive things, which means I am not good at half throttle. When I go, I go. And yeah, there's a few moments throughout the week where I've felt really down, or, you know, not depressed, but you can feel defeated whenever you're
Yeah.
pouring yourself into something and you're not getting what you want every single day. And when I feel like that, and I may have told you this, there are these things just happen. Something comes my way completely unsolicited that I go, oh, that feels good. And I chalked it up to just straight coincidence, I think, at first. And then after you get like 7 of those, every time you're really feeling like, why am I doing this? Kind of tough to ignore. And I'm not
Mhm.
a God denier either. I'm like, I want this so bad.
Yeah.
So it feels like there's something there. I just hate the doubt. I just want to wake up tomorrow and be like, yep, I'm in.
I think you haven't gotten to that point yet, because for me, when I fully decided to submit everything to God in August and just really dive head over heels and in every facet fully express myself, and that doesn't mean I have to be outspoken, but I stopped holding it in. Right now you're asking, you're seeking, and you're knocking pretty much the last 6 months, I would say.
Yep.
And I think being fully, I say lean in. I say lean in. Don't let the doubt come in. If the doubt comes in, start talking to the guy.
Yeah,
There's no
but
perfect way to pray.
what does leaning in look like?
Talking like right now. What are you feeling right now?
I don't know.
I,
I
I,
don't
I,
know. I like that was so beautiful what you just said, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know.
what were you asking yourself?
Is God real? Do you ever have bouts of struggle?
Struggle with my faith?
Yeah.
I used to.
What did that look like for you?
Um, Solitude and my own loneliness, thinking I was always right and self righteous with my own beliefs, and thinking I can do everything on my own. And we talked about in the last episode having control. I think that's very
Yeah.
much to my core a part of the issue is I can do this on my own. I don't need help. I don't need it. And then as soon as I start getting better with my health and my fitness, I'm thinking, oh, it's because I had help with Brad and I had help with my diet, my fitness, and I started taking care of my body, and yet something still felt awry, much like you right now. And I finally decided to listen to something my wife was saying, who personally did not grow up with much faith. And she has always referenced, even when I was not sober, that I always seemed healthier when we were back in church because there was some type of connection there. The community, the aspect that I thrive in community. It's something about the togetherness aspect that I just love. And so we started going back, and that was my decision in August. It just felt like I needed something else. We went back, and the first day back, the message resonated so heavily with what I was learning at this time. So you think about God, everything around us, in my experience, is by design with God. And yet I can't see him. I can't see his face,
Yeah.
but I see it in everything that I do.
Said something to the effect of your wife mentioned that you do best whenever you're in community.
Yeah, about that.
And I
When
wrote
I'm
this
in
down
church, but
in
yes.
church. I wrote this down, right? And so look, I'm not over here just not talking to God at all. I'm
Yeah.
actively trying, right? I'm just fighting through doubt. And the thing that has always been a roadblock, I think is what I would say, is when I feel like I'm connecting with God, because I felt that way, and I still do feel that way sometimes, is I feel good. I feel welcomed. I but I feel out of place in a
Mm.
group setting talking about God. I feel out of place at church. I feel out of place in groups discussing it. This I don't feel out of place talking to you about this. So this feeling. This is fucking new. I've never felt comfortable, as comfortable as this is right now.
Yeah.
I'm not in my wheelhouse, but I've never felt this comfortable talking about it. Always felt out of place in group settings. I've never
Yeah.
talked to anyone. Actually, I've never talked to anyone like we have talked about. Right, like this is the first time in my entire life.
Yeah. That's powerful. I thank you for letting me be a part of that experience, because I have been pushed towards faith many times, and it's been a very off putting feeling where it feels forced. And I don't like that. I don't like forcing anyone to do anything they don't want to.
No,
We weren't forced to believe in God, and for us to forcibly tell someone else they have to, or they're not listening properly. It's like, that's not the point. I am now discipling to try to plant the seed. When you wake up tomorrow morning and you think to yourself, ah, Will says he reads his Bible every morning. Maybe I'll read like a passage. I'm not saying you'll do that.
I think about when have I felt closest to God. It was not when I was getting messed up all the time. It was definitely in my bouts of sobriety throughout the years. Not that there was many or that long, but I think whenever I was focused on that and I had a clearer mind, or I was exercising more and taking care of myself, I think definitely those thoughts were more naturally occurring.
You know, Another thing as well is you don't come to Jesus clean. You come to Jesus to be cleaned. I think too many times people feel like they've done too much to be forgiven, and you hear it everywhere. Oh, I don't know if I, will be let in, and or this person's going to hell.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're judging others, which I have a really tough time doing, especially people watching if I'm in a public area. And I often think, especially now that I've
It's my
gone through a
favorite,
weight
one of my
loss
favorite
journey where I see
activities.
certain people, oh, it's a great pastime, but it is not great. Who knows what they're going through? I've been on that end, and so have you, in different ways. And so I think to myself, there's many times where I'll catch myself going like, "Ooh, don't eat that." But then I'm eating tuna and people are judging me, and I'm like, "Oh, it is what it is." What makes me better than them? Because I'm walking more fit? No. Because I walk with God? No. I have to catch myself so many times now that I'm judging others. I think I think about the opening of your feelings with, obviously, with your parents, with your biological parents, experiencing all that loss. I think it is, and I mean, this is just me speculating. This is not me saying anything, but I think you're afraid of another loss or being let down, and that's tough to say
My
out
whole life
loud.
has been loss. And
Correct.
um,
And it's hard to believe in something that might not be there, just like the rest of it isn't there.
yeah.
But you're surrounded with loss in the beginning of your life. But I can tell you right now, I've seen you, and I just experienced the loss of not having Keith around all of us last weekend.
You know,
So there's some grace and some abundance of love
thank
that
you.
is full of more than just friendship. That is more faith than I think you realize.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And that does feel good.
I got mad at God because of my dad dying. I was mad at my dad. I was mad at me not being around. Um, I moved away for 2 years with my wife, pissed my dad off for leaving the family business, basically on a last second decision for my wife and I to grow and become adults. And I harbored a lot of frustration around that. And, I could feel it when you were talking. Like I could feel it's not the same story, but I could feel the emotion behind it of what is driving you to the questions and what is also driven you away. And even outside of this, Keith, I am always available and I don't have all the answers. And I am beyond humbled that you think so highly of my faith. And I yet know that I have much work to do. I am unbelievably humbled that I'm viewed that way in your eyes because as much as this conversation was about you, I get kind of caught up and emotional because I feel like all the work I've been doing, all the work that I'm trying to show God, that I'm trying to do and serve for Him, you saying those things to me is very much like a reminder that I'm I'm working in the right direction and God's telling me I'm doing okay.
You're doing good work, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, talk about doubt. I try not to, but holy shit.
You putting yourself out there may seem super insignificant and small, right? But you're having a big impact on a lot of people. And I think that you can see it in the group. And
Yeah, I
I mean,
can
it's,
feel
it's
it.
touching me. Hey, it brought us together. We started a fucking podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh boy. I was trying not to do this the whole time.
What I like about this episode, William, is there's no resolution at the end of this conversation. Not that there will be on many that we have, but it feels good just to talk about it because I'm just scared to
Yeah.
give myself fully to it.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. And you don't even know what it looks like. What does that even look like to you? What does it look like to Keith?
I think you are in an awesome position to bring God to people who probably wouldn't consider it.
Yeah. I I feel that way. More or less a scary thing. I used to fear waking up in the morning because I didn't know how I'd get through the day some days. That's wild to say. That's the other thing is I've started sharing a lot more with people and man, I had conversations today. Said very much a lot of what you're saying. I think that's why I'm feeling heavy right now. Is I don't know what I'm doing. I don't
No one does, man.
no, I don't know. I don't want to say the wrong things and I don't want to misrepresent God. I don't want to misrepresent his message. I don't know how to articulate everything, but what I do know is my life has been fantastic since I gave it to him. I am abundant with love from people around me, from people like yourself, from my wife. Man, my marriage has never been better, even
Yeah.
since the day we got married. Like that's a very memorable day. I love her to death, but I I can't even put into words what our relationship is like right now. And we've been through a lot, and I put my wife through so much shit. And
How long have you guys been married?
10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was not a good man for majority of those. I was not good and wasn't a good father. I mean, I had definitely spurts of goodness. But man, you know, I've been given many chances, and I'm not wasting this one. I'm just not.
that I think have made me think about it. You're one of them.
Yeah.
You know the second? Jimmy Queen. Because he doesn't look and act like what I thought you had to look and act like.
Yeah. Oh man, it's crazy you say that. Travis from just told me the same thing. He left church because he has tattoos and he doesn't act like he should, and so he left his church. This was years ago now, and he was just telling me the story while we were sitting there. He said the same exact words,
Yeah.
about himself. That, and he goes, but then I saw you and you're talking all about it. You're tatted up, and I'm like, yeah, I don't.
It's what you
I
bring to
go
the
to
table,
church,
dude.
huh?
It's what you bring to the table.
Yeah,
You know, William, I don't know how I'm going to wrap this up, and I'm okay with that because I think the whole point of this is just to talk about the shit that we're going through that does not commonly get discussed. And I think we have achieved that. And it just feels better. I just appreciate you listening. I think
yeah.
that the answers to a lot of things just lie within us, and we have to have room to get it out. And you've helped me with that. And I'm not walking away like I'm not struggling anymore, but man, I feel heard and
I struggle every day,
it
every day.
helps. So thank you. Everybody, we appreciate it. Thanks for being here. And we will talk to you next time. Get out there, go kick ass. We'll see you.